As the year is dwindling down to a close, many of us look back at it and see what it has brought us. Some years pack punch after punch, releasing films that become ultimate classics down the line. And some years have maybe one or two good offerings, but are otherwise forgettable. 2023 had some highs, but it also reached plenty of lows, unfortunately due to the strikes and release dates getting pushed down as sets were being shut down and so forth. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. At no cost to you, every new sub helps us achieve our new goal and keeps us motivated to create new content for you to enjoy. With that being said, I'm your host Jamie, and here's our list of top 10 films of 2023. Number 1, Oppenheimer. Beautifully shot with great performances and an absolutely gorgeous cinematic score, this film brilliantly deconstructs the American witch hunt for communism, while simultaneously showing us what fear and warmongering can ultimately do to a nation, and how the simple act of splitting the atom has forever changed the landscape of humanity on Earth. If you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, or never even heard of this film, the story focuses on Robert J. Oppenheimer, the creator of the atomic bomb during World War II. After the discovery is made for splitting the atom, a committee was formed of several different departments tasked with creating some kind of weapon utilizing this new advancement before the Nazis could. Meanwhile, through flash forwards, it also depicts the Senate Commission basically demonizing those who worked on the project, especially those who spoke out against it, as harbingers of doomsday stemmed mostly from one man, Louis Strauss, who was essentially just jealous that Oppenheimer never saw him as an equal. The film ultimately culminates with both the testing of the atomic bomb and a brilliant practical special effects display, as well as a trial outcome. Highly recommended for those who enjoy historical event films. Number 2, Killers of the Flower Moon. Speaking of historical event films, this one is quite the spectacle as well, focusing on the mistreatment and murders of the Osage people in 1920s Oklahoma. It is one of the few films which show the dark history of a predominantly white America and its treatment of indigenous tribes. At first, the Osage were forced from their land onto a reservation which was basically unfit for anything, not even farming really, when suddenly during cultivation they struck oil, otherwise known as black gold. This of course made many of the families in the Osage become incredibly wealthy, and they built a town and so forth. Several white businessmen moved in, trying to broker deals, some of them even marrying Osage women so they could have access to that wealth. Through the cunning of one of the oldest white families in the town, however, he had several men marry those women, and then suddenly their spouses would end up accidentally dead, leaving the white men inheriting the money for themselves. It is truly one of the most horrific crimes to have ever occurred here, as entire families were wiped off the face of the earth for pure greed. And while only one or two men ever faced any kind of justice, most of the murders went unsolved as the police force and such were also in the pockets of the schemers. Heartbreaking and dark, definitely one to watch for history buffs out there. Number 3, Anatomy of a Fall. A French courtroom drama that surrounds a case where a musical artist has seemingly fallen to his death from an attic window. While all signs point to it being accidental, this film brilliantly breaks down several investigative bits that support either side of the argument. From Samuel's previous suicide attempts via painkillers, to bruising on his wife's arm that could be related to some sort of struggle. As the investigation and accompanying trial begin to present their cases and reveal more evidence, the film truly becomes a crime mystery thriller that will leave you asking many questions, as if you were the jury yourself. No spoilers here though, but if you've been itching for a real mystery, this is a fantastic slow burn thriller made for forensic hounds. Well acted and almost a cold documentary style to its presentation, I highly recommend checking this one out on a rainy night with other fellow sleuths. Number 4, Talk to Me. A twisted take on the classic Ouija board style horror films, This Australian offering sees a group of young kids between high school age and college age who throw wild parties and all participate in this seance summoning type game. While the exact origins of the hand still remains a mystery by the end of the film, it is mostly rumored to be one of a set of hands cut off from a medium who was able to communicate with the dead long ago, and cast in plaster for preservation. The ritual goes: you light a candle, set the hand on the table, put your hand into it like you're shaking it to say hello, and speak the words, "I let you in." This results in a spirit being able to temporarily inhabit your body for others to ask questions or whatever. The trick is, you should never go over 60 seconds, and always blow out the candle at the end to make sure the spirit completely leaves your body. Enter the main character, Mia, who struggles with losing her mom to suicide. And of course, during one of these nights when her and her friends choose to play the game, one of the spirits manifests itself as possibly being her mother. I don't want to spoil the film any further beyond that, so if you're looking for one of the best horror offerings from the year, definitely check it out. Number 5. Godzilla -1. Set in Japan in 1945 near the end of World War II, a pilot for the Japanese Imperial Army experiences technical problems when he is forced to land on a small island. That same night, Godzilla emerges. Unable to take the creature down, he is knocked unconscious. The following year, he returns home to find out his parents were killed in the bombing of Tokyo, which leaves him guilt-ridden, and so he enlists as a minesweeper, giving his earnings to another woman who also lost her parents. However, through the continued testing of nuclear bombs by the United States at Bikini Atoll, Godzilla is mutated and begins his rampage, heading toward Japan. And of course, basically shit hits the fan when the giant kaiju reaches the island nation and wreaks its havoc. What really makes this film stand apart is that the human element doesn't detract from the film, but rather enhances its story, and that even Godzilla's design is amazingly well done. It also touches heavily on the original themes inspired the franchise in the first place. The devastation that the nuclear bomb brought to the world, the ever-present fear that now resides in everyone's subconscious, that at any moment it could all end in one massive destructive event. If you're looking to feed your giant monster fix, then look no further, as this film is downright almost perfect in every conceivable way. Number 6. Dream Scenario. This film is billed as a dark comedy, but honestly, it's also a straight-up horror story. An allegory to what fame and social media does to people and how it can quickly destroy lives. How cancel culture can be based in nothing but bias, in some sort of he said, she said word game launched by an angry internet troll or so. The plot is bizarre. We follow a professor played by Nicolas Cage, a man who never quite achieved much in life, feels like everything has been taken from him, and is otherwise just awkward in every other social sense. Suddenly, he begins appearing in people's dreams. At first, it's the students in his class, which, a bit disturbing, makes sense since they know him personally. But then he begins appearing in random people's dreams who have never met him. He's always just there, not doing anything, just observing. Of course, he sees this as a perfect way to break into a much larger world, one where he could publish his book and become a respected scientist. However, the dreams start becoming more menacing. Some become strange sexual fantasies, some become ultra-violent, and some just become downright disturbing. These all seem to come from his own emotional state, which is fragile and all over the place. The more his fame rises, and people make criticisms. I don't want to give away the ending, but if you're into the strange and unusual, or just a fan of Nicolas Cage going off the rails, this is definitely a film for you. Number 7. Maestro. Leonard Bernstein was probably one of the greatest composers in American history. The man understood music like it were an involuntary action, such as breathing. A complicated artist, the film beautifully portrays the glamour of old Hollywood magic alongside the torture that genius can bring. It also heartbreakingly displays an incredible loving relationship with his wife, who eventually succumbs to cancer and ultimately takes a piece of his soul with her when she goes. Shot primarily in black and white except for the modern day segments, it's not quite a musical like so many other musician biopics that have been released before, and instead is more like a theatrical play, unfolding alongside a beautiful score. Unfortunately, Bernstein passed away in 1990, and it took this long to make a film celebrating his life. But what a tribute it is. If you're looking for a film that truly depicts what it is to create music, this is the film you need to see. Number 8. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The swan song of one of the most unexpected trilogies coming out of the Marvel machine, it is probably the most perfect ending that any of the character-centric entries have gotten, outside of Infinity War and Endgame. Not only did it have a socially relevant theme at its heart, taking on the cruelty of animal testing and the morality argument of scientific advancement, but it also showed that team at its best and worst. Or better yet, it showed how a bunch of misfits became a real family. Well, I'm almost positive this isn't the last time we've seen most of these characters. This is most definitely the last time we see them side by side as a force to be reckoned with. If you're unfamiliar with the film, the plot revolves around a man named the High Evolutionary. Whether he is human or not is debatable. Whatever he once was has been upgraded and replaced by cybernetic enhancements, even giving him some kind of telekinetic abilities. His goal is to create a perfect utopian society, docile with the violence spread out of them, ever looking forward to becoming more perfect. A long time ago, he was responsible for forcibly evolving several different animals, including raccoons from Earth, which resulted in the birth of our beloved hero Rocket. He managed to escape the facility, of course, losing some very dear friends in one of the most heart-wrenching moments in the film, and of course, eventually grows up to join the Guardians. Flash forward to the present day, and the High Evolutionary wants him back, because a creation of his outsmarted him, damaging his ego and literally damaging his face. While many of the MCU films that released in the latest phase have been hit or miss, this one was definitely top tier, and the perfect send-off by James Gunn as he leaves Marvel for DC. Go check it out, especially if you're a lover of animals. Number 9. Return to Seoul. Following a young woman who was born in South Korea and adopted by French parents, she travels to Seoul in search of her biological roots. She has many walls up as she feels estranged from her own life and a touch of abandonment from her own lineage, and it thus is hesitant to ever get in contact with her real father, with whom she is put in contact through the Hammond Adoption Agency via telegram. After meeting him, her biological father expresses his regret for putting her up for adoption and wishes to make amends, but this causes a rift to form between them as Freddie, the young woman, rejects him and the extended family. A man named Tenna, who Freddie met when she first arrived in Seoul, expresses his love for her, which she mocks, and eventually causes him to leave her as well. 2 years pass by, and Freddie has made herself a home in Seoul, dating a criminal weapons trafficker, and reveals to a friend that her biological mother has finally responded to the telegrams, that she has no intention of ever meeting her. Freddie's father, however, still attempts to keep in contact, which she largely ignores. There is another time jump, continuing her self-destructive nature and her struggle with coming into her unknown, which I don't want to give away here. So I highly suggest you check out this film if you enjoy Korean dramas. It has a beautiful yet melancholic ending, one that will leave you feeling all sorts of emotions. Number 10. Poor Things. If you're familiar with Yorgos Lanthimos films, then you already know to expect the strange and unusual. A modern-day David Lynch with a bit more cohesive storytelling style, his films are always intriguing with a heavy moral center. This film takes the classic tale of Frankenstein and breathes a little more life into it. A pregnant woman commits suicide by jumping off a bridge, and so Dr. Baxter recovers the corpses, resurrects them, and implants the infant's mind in the new body. From that point on, the new persona, Bella, goes on a journey of self-discovery and has many adventures along the way. Not all that turn out well. While there are many comedic moments spread throughout, there's also an incredibly dark side to the narrative, as many of us know. Humanity is far from perfect, even amidst all its wonder. It's hard to talk about this film without giving away any major spoilers, and since it is relatively new in theaters, it is best you go see this film before learning everything about it. If you're a fan of Tim Burton and other stylized visionary directors, this one is right up your alley. An almost steampunk mixed with gaudy, over-the-top glitz and glamour set in a fantastical world. Highly recommended. Thanks for checking out the video. What was your favorite film this year? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. I've been your host, Jamie. Have a great new year.